People see me and they get that look. You know the one. Sad eyes. A little pity pulled into the corners of their mouth. Like they're already grieving me, and I'm sitting right here in front of them, drinking my coffee. I'm Ruth Mae. I am 108 years old, and I am going to tell you something that most people in my position will not say out loud. I am not afraid to die. Not one single bit. Now, before you sit there and think, oh, that poor old woman has gone soft, let me be very clear with you. My mind is sharp. I remember the phone number from my first apartment in 1938. I remember what I wore the day my daughter was born. I know exactly what I'm saying. The peace I have about dying didn't come from giving up. It didn't come from being ready to quit. It came from something else entirely. Something that took me over a century to figure out. What took me 108 years to understand, I'm going to try to hand to you in the next few minutes. So sit still. Don't you scroll away. You are afraid of death. You don't want to say it, but it is sitting right there behind your eyes every time the subject comes up. You change the channel. You scroll past the article. You say, I don't want to think about that, as if not thinking about it is the same as being protected from it. It is not. And here is the part that should really bother you. You are not afraid of dying. Not really. What you are afraid of is arriving at the end and realizing that you didn't do it, that you didn't live. You planned, you saved, you waited for conditions to get right, waited for the kids to grow up, waited for the debt to clear, waited for the perfect time. And now you are standing at the door and your hands are empty. That is what you are afraid of, the empty hands. I've watched it happen to good people, smart people, people with every opportunity I never had. They get to the end clutching all the things they postponed, all the conversations they were going to have, all the places they were going to see, and they are furious, not at death, at themselves. You don't have to be one of those people, but right now, today, you are living like one. I want to tell you about my sister, Cora. Cora was 2 years younger than me. She was the beautiful one. Not that I'm complaining. The Lord gave me other gifts. She had this laugh that could fill up a whole church hall and still have some left over. When we were girls growing up in Beaufort, South Carolina, every boy in the county was chasing after Cora, and she didn't give any of them the time of day. She was too busy reading, too busy dreaming. She used to say she was going to go to Paris someday. Said it from the time she was about 12 years old. Paris. Now you have to understand, in 1934, a black girl from Beaufort saying she was going to Paris was like saying she was going to the moon. But Cora said it like it was already written down somewhere. She married a good man, Theodore. Steady, reliable, loved her the way a man ought to. They had 4 children, and Cora was a wonderful mother. But somewhere between the children and the housework and Theodore's long hours and the bills and the years, Paris stopped being a plan and started being a sweet little private joke she told herself at the end of a hard day. Someday, Cora, someday. When Cora was 71, Theodore passed. The children came home for the funeral, stayed a week, and then they left. And Cora was alone in that house. I called her every Sunday, and for the first time in maybe 40 years, she started talking about Paris again. She'd been saving a little here and there. She had a new passport. Can you imagine? 71 years old, getting a new passport. She had a little blue notebook where she'd written down the names of restaurants she wanted to try, galleries she wanted to see. Little handwriting, careful as anything. She showed it to me when I visited. She was going in the spring. January of that year, Cora had a stroke. Not a killing stroke, she lived another 9 years. But it took her balance. It took her confidence. It took the trip. I sat with her 3 weeks before she died. She was 80 years old, and she held my hand and she said, "Ruthie, I should have just gone." Not frantic, not weeping, just quiet. The way a person sounds when they've stopped arguing with a fact. I didn't say anything, because she was right. After Cora died, her daughter found that little blue notebook in her nightstand. Still had the restaurant names in it. Still had the handwriting, careful as anything. Now here is the part that is hard for me to say, because it is not just about Cora. I had my own version of Paris. Mine wasn't a place. Mine was a conversation. I had a disagreement with my youngest daughter, Loretta, in 1987. It turned into a silence that lasted 11 years. 11 years. Over something I cannot even fully reconstruct today. It was so small by the time I got to the other side of it. Something about a holiday, and who felt dismissed, and who said what. I told myself I was waiting on principle. I was her mother. I had done everything for that girl. She owed me an apology first. 11 years of principle. I called her in 1998. I was 80 years old, and I picked up the phone and I said, "Loretta, I don't remember who was right and I don't care anymore. I want my daughter back." She was crying before I finished the sentence. We talked for 3 hours that night. But Cora's Paris had already had its stroke. You understand what I'm saying. 11 years of my daughter's life that I don't get back. 11 birthdays, 11 Christmases, 3 grandchildren I didn't meet until they were old enough to wonder, Why Grandma Ruth wasn't in any of the early pictures. My principal cost me 11 years. I think about that sometimes, not with shame. I've forgiven myself, but I think about it. Here is what I finally understood, and it took me a long, long time. A candle is not afraid of going out, not if it burned. That's the whole thing right there. That's all of it. When you hold a candle that has burned all the way down, wax pooled, wick gone, there is nothing sad about it. It did what it came to do. It gave light until there was no more light to give. But a candle kept in a drawer, saved for a special occasion that never comes, that is the tragedy. That is the thing that should break your heart. People treat their lives like that candle in the drawer, saving themselves, protecting themselves, waiting for conditions worthy of the flame. And then they die with the wax still intact and the wick still white and the whole thing unused. I am not afraid to die because I burned. I burned crooked sometimes. I burned in the wrong direction once or twice. Lord knows that 11 years proves it. But I burned. And when this wick finally goes out, there will be nothing left to protect. That is the only freedom that is absolutely guaranteed. You earn it by spending yourself, every last bit. Let me tell you about two women I know. The first is Margaret, 89 years old, lives about 20 minutes from here. Margaret has been healthy all her life, good family around her, no serious illness. But Margaret is terrified, has been for years. She won't drive on the highway because something might happen. Won't travel because what if she gets sick far from home? She checks her blood pressure 4 times a day. She has spent the last 15 years trying to make herself safe from life, which is the one thing you cannot be made safe from. Margaret isn't living. She's extending. And you can see it on her face. She is exhausted from all that protecting. Death is coming for Margaret just the same. All that guarding, and it still comes. She will have spent 2 decades in a defensive crouch for nothing. The second woman is my friend Opal, 91 years old. She walks with a cane, 2 hip replacements, and 1 knee, she says, sounds like someone crumpling a paper bag when she goes upstairs. Opal doesn't have much. A little apartment, old furniture. The whole place smells like lemon verbena she grows in her window. Opal takes a watercolor class on Wednesday mornings. She is terrible at it, and she doesn't care. She shows me her paintings. I tell her they're lovely. We both know I'm lying, and we both laugh about it. She taught herself to play the ukulele during the pandemic because she said she had been afraid of looking foolish long enough. She writes letters, actual letters on paper to her grandchildren. Last month she went to watch the sunrise from the hill behind her building because she had never done it and figured she ought to. Opal is not ready to die. She still has things she wants to do. But she is not afraid of it either, because she knows she is burning. Every day a little wax, every day a little flame, and she is at peace with that exchange. So here is what I want from you, not suggestions, not advice. What I want from you. First, name your Paris. You know what it is. You've known for years. The conversation you're not having. The trip you keep moving to later. The thing you want to try, but you're afraid you'll be too old or too bad at it, or people will look at you sideways. Write it down. Then put a date next to it. Not someday, a date with numbers, because someday is where Cora's trip went to die. Second, go make peace with somebody. I don't care who was right. You know exactly who I'm talking about. The name that just came into your head when I said that. My 11 years of principle cost me things I cannot calculate. Your pride is not worth it. At 108 years old, I cannot remember a single argument I won that was worth what it cost to win it. Third, stop protecting the candle. You are saving yourself for a special occasion that keeps getting pushed forward. The occasion is now. It has always been now. The wax melts whether you light the wick or not. The only choice you have is whether it burns for something. And last, sit with the fact that you are going to die. Don't flinch from it. Sit with it. Not to be morbid, to be free. Because the moment you really accept it, the things that don't matter stop mattering. You stop holding grudges. You stop postponing love. You stop saving the good dishes for company. A life fully burned leaves nothing to fear losing. I am 108 years old. My wick is almost gone. I can feel it. And I'll tell you something. It is not as frightening as you'd think from the outside. It is quiet, a little soft, like the last hour of a long good day, when the light goes amber and everything slows down. When I go, don't you spend a minute feeling sorry for me. I burned. I burned all the way down. I made mistakes and I fixed them. I lost people and I grieved them and I kept going. I went 11 years without my daughter, and then I called her, and I got 23 more years with her. 23 years I almost didn't have because I was too proud to pick up the phone. If something I said today is sitting with you, share it. Share it with somebody who is living like that candle in the drawer. They need to hear it. Tell me in the comments, What is your Paris? What have you been waiting on? I read every one. And if you want more conversations like this one, there's a button somewhere on this screen. Push it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a letter to write and a sunrise I haven't seen yet.